Look at a map. You see vacation spots, beaches, mountains, cozy little towns. But that doesn't tell the whole story. Some places, they're actively trying to kill you. Starting off with number 50, Death Valley. Little on the nose, huh? It's the hottest place on Earth, a furnace that holds the all-time record for air temperature. But the heat isn't even the real monster. It's the ground temp. It can hit 200 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to make the mercury say, bro, chill. Add in flash floods that roar through bone-dry canyons like they've got a personal vendetta, and you've got a place that doesn't just try to kill you, it sends a follow-up email to make sure you got the message. And the danger isn't hypothetical. In 1996, a German family of 4 decided to see the sights. Their rental minivan was found stuck in a remote sandwash. The family, no sign of them. It took 15 years for their bones to be discovered. They had tried to walk out, baking in 123 degree Fahrenheit heat. A reminder that Death Valley takes its branding seriously. From America's frying pan to its walk-in freezer. Number 49. Mount Washington isn't exactly Everest. It's barely 6,200 feet. A speed bump compared to the Rockies, but this mountain holds the record for the highest wind speed ever recorded by a human, 231 miles an hour. It's where 3 major storm tracks meet up for a bar fight. In winter, the temperature can drop to negative 50 Fahrenheit. Add in wind chill, and it's plunging to negative 100 Fahrenheit. Your skin freezes solid in seconds. More than 150 people have died there, usually right after saying, how bad could it be? If Mount Washington doesn't freeze you solid, the Aleutians are happy to finish the job. Number 48. The passes between the Aleutian Islands are where the world's most violent weather is born. Think washing machine set to death cycle. You get 90-mile-an-hour winds and waves that look like liquid mountains. And the biggest monster, freezing spray. The air is so cold it freezes seawater to the boat on impact. Tons of ice piling up until the vessel becomes top-heavy and cosplays as a submarine. In 2008, the Alaska Ranger fishing vessel lost control of its rudder in 30-foot seas and started sinking. The 47 crew members abandoned ship, jumping into freezing waters. Survival time? Minutes. A Coast Guard helicopter and a sister ship managed to save 42. 5 died. Honestly, I'd rather take my chances with the polar bears. Survive the Aleutians? Great. Now let's talk about a lake that tries to dissolve you. Number 47. Take a look at this. It's Mono Lake. Beautiful, huh? Like a mirror to the sky. Except, maybe don't touch the water. Mono Lake is an ancient alkali bath bomb. For 760,000 years, salts and minerals have just lain there, concentrating. The lake equivalent of stewing in its own bad decisions. The water is 3 times saltier than the ocean and has a pH of 10. That's the same as household bleach, just so you know. It's a caustic gumbo of arsenic, carbonates, and sulfates. Birds can handle it just fine. But if you fall in with an open cut, prepare for a flavor of agony you didn't know existed. And the water isn't even the worst part. The real danger? The dry alkali flats around it. When the wind kicks up, it creates toxic dust storms that can sandblast your lungs from the inside. Turns out the lake wanted an air-based attack option too. From a lake that attacks your lungs, we go to a volcano that prefers a full-body approach. Number 46. The Hawaii Volcanoes National Park in the US. People see lava and think, cool photo. They forget a volcano can take them out before they even finish framing the shot. Kilauea is one of the most active volcanoes on Earth. In 2018, it didn't just erupt, it unzipped, swallowed entire streets and displaced 2,000 people. The result? One messy HOA meeting. But the lava isn't even the only thing trying to ruin your day. The Hawaii Volcanoes National Park is a minefield of invisible dangers. Those scenic cliff edges? Just hardened lava shelves pretending to be sturdy until they drop you straight into the ocean. What about the VOG? That's volcanic fog to you and me. It's a combo of sulfur dioxide and other toxic gases. Some people bring back cute souvenirs from a vacay. Hawaii gives you permanent lung damage, from a volcano that melts the ground to a cave that melts you. Number 45. This is the Cave of Crystals. Think Superman's Fortress of Solitude. if he wanted to die. Discovered by miners, it's a cavern filled with the largest selenite crystals on Earth, some 36 feet long and 3.2 feet thick. It's one of the most beautiful places on the planet, the kind of spot that makes you think, wow, nature is incredible, right before it tries to kill you. Staying longer than 10 minutes, you'll need specialized gear. The temperature sits at a toasty 136 degrees Fahrenheit with 90 to 100% humidity. Your body can't sweat to cool down. Instead, your lungs start filling with fluid. You literally drown on dry land. Isn't nature fun? And if you thought dying in a glowing crystal sauna was extreme, wait until you see what Tibet has cooking. Number 44. For a long time, Motuo County was the last county in Tibet with no road access. Why? Well, one route involves a 75-mile trail through the Himalayas that feels like it was designed by someone who hates humans. There's 200-foot-long suspension bridges swaying over canyons, sheer cliff faces, and some of the most extreme weather on Earth. It honestly feels like it was designed by a bored supervillain. But the real danger, it's landslides. The region is so unstable that rockfalls and mudslides are a daily, constant threat. The new road they built, it's often washed out, making the old death trail the most reliable way in or out, assuming your definition of reliable includes may collapse at any moment. Escaping the Himalayas alive is impressive. It's a shame the Atlantic doesn't care. Number 43. Nazaré Canyon in Portugal is the ocean's grumpy mode. Most of the year, Nazaré is a sleepy fishing village where the wildest thing you'll see is a seagull committing petty theft. But in winter, the place turns into a high-stakes aquatic rage room. A 16,000-foot deep underwater canyon, 3 times deeper than the Grand Canyon, aims directly at the shore. It's like a gigantic funnel that turns a bad day into a nightmare. I'm talking 80 to 100-foot waves. Getting caught by one of these isn't like wiping out at your local beach. It's like being hit by a speeding train, then pinned underwater for 3 minutes, all while the ocean is grinding you into the ocean floor like it's trying to erase you from existence. So, my advice, don't forget your water wings. From oceans throwing punches to cartels throwing everything else. Number 42. Ciudad Victoria is the state capital of Tamaulipas, Mexico. And it's ground zero for one of the world's most brutal cartel wars, the Zetas versus the Gulf Cartel, and they're not exactly subtle about it. Think action movie levels of warfare. Convoys of armored trucks roll through the streets in broad daylight. Mass graves turning up on the outskirts? Yeah, it's got those too. By 2017, the homicide rate was so high, it made the global top 10, which is not the kind of list you brag about making. This isn't a place you visit. It's the kind of place your GPS looks at and says, you're on your own. And if you thought Ciudad Victoria was intense, wait till you meet the city that made murder an annual hobby. Number 41. For years, San Pedro Sula held the title of murder capital of the world. Impressive for a country not at war. How? A perfect storm of poverty, government instability, and gang warfare courtesy of MS-13 and Barrio 18. The result? A city where extortion is just part of the daily routine and human life is valued somewhere between cheap and buy one get one. Sure, it's slightly better today, but it's still a no-go zone. Wear the wrong t-shirt and you're basically volunteering as tribute. Let's recap. We've seen a cave that slow roasts tourists, a mountain that snap freezes them, and a lake that reacts to human skin like it owes it money. And this is just the beginning. We've got a lot more stops on this danger tour. Number 40. La Oroya in Peru is a mining town in the Andes with one major landmark, a massive ore smelter that's been coughing lead, zinc, copper, and sulfur dioxide into the air for over a century. The result? 99% of children living there have blood lead levels that are triple the WHO's limit. Another way of saying, everything here is trying to kill you. The air is poisonous, the soil is dead, the river is toxic, it's what scientists call a sacrifice zone. Nerd speak for one of the most toxic, uninhabitable spots on the globe. Speaking of places where everything wants you to die, number 39. Australia, a land where "Look Out" really should be the national anthem. K'gari, formerly Fraser Island, looks like paradise. 75 miles of pristine beaches, freshwater lakes, everything Instagram loves. But don't let the brochure fool you. This place is a full buffet of creative ways to die. The surf is notoriously dangerous, packed with some of the world's worst rip currents and a healthy population of tiger and bull sharks, just in case you like your murder fish with variety. And if the sharks don't get you, the Irukandji jellyfish will. Tiny, transparent, and somehow more venomous than anything that size has any right to be. So you'll stay on the beach? Good luck. The island is home to Australia's purest bred dingoes. They're wild predators, and in 2001, they attacked and killed a 9-year-old boy. So definitely not the fetch kind. Think Australia was intense? Let me introduce you to an animal that makes sharks look reasonable. Number 38. The Okavango Delta is one of the most beautiful wildlife havens on Earth. It's also home to the single deadliest large animal in Africa, the hippopotamus. Sure, they're slow, goofy, and aquatic. That's just what hippos want you to think. They're fast, pathologically psychotic, and can run 19 miles an hour on land. Their jaws can snap a 10-foot crocodile in half. During the flood season, locals navigate the shifting channels in mokoros, or dugout canoes. The number one rule: don't surprise a hippo, because if you do, it'll be the last time. If you like these geography deep dives, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I've studied so many deadly places, I'm starting to relate to them. Anyway, if dodging weaponized river pigs wasn't stressful enough, wait until you meet a coastline that tries to kill you before you even step on it. Number 37. The Skeleton Coast in Namibia. The local bushmen called this the land God made in anger. They weren't wrong. The Skeleton Coast is where the Namib, one of the world's driest deserts, slams into the violent, cold Atlantic like two hostile roommates. A constant, heavy fog hangs over everything, basically acting as nature's version of, "No, really, come closer. Just a little more. Surprise, you're on the rocks now." The shoreline is like the ocean's personal lost and found, a graveyard of whale bones and shattered hulls. If you survive the wreck, you can't go inland. It's hundreds of miles of waterless dunes. Stay on the beach, and you get to share it with desert lions and hyenas who normally eat seals but will absolutely upgrade their meal plan if a shipwreck survivor washes in. From a beach that eats shipwreck survivors to an island that skips the subtlety and just covers everything in snakes. Number 36. Snake Island, just off the coast of Brazil, is a real-life horror movie. It's tiny, just 106 acres, and is completely overrun with snakes. And not the awe nature kind. We're talking golden lanceheads, pit vipers with venom so potent it can melt human flesh. Fun. Why are there so many? Well, with no ground predators and nothing stopping them from living their best lives and multiplying. Estimates range from 1 to 5 snakes per square meter, which means the ground literally moves. The Brazilian Navy has banned all visitors because, shockingly, a flesh-melting snake island is considered unsafe. And the local legend? The last lighthouse keeper and his family didn't just vanish, the snakes allegedly swarmed through their windows and ended the lease early. If Brazil gave us snakes that melt flesh, Tanzania counters with water that solidifies it. Number 35. The pH in Lake Natron can reach as high as 12. So less bath bomb, more alkali bomb. And if that wasn't enough, it's fed by hot springs that heat the water to 140 degrees Fahrenheit. The lake is so caustic, it can burn the skin and eyes off anything that's not adapted to it. The secret weapon, natron, the stuff Egyptians used for mummification. So when birds get tricked by the lake's shiny mirror-like surface and crash into it, they don't just die, they calcify. They wash up looking like they decided to cosplay as Medusa. Escape the calcification zone? Perfect. The next stop is a spot where breathing is the mistake. Number 34. The Kamchatka Peninsula in Russia is a raw, volcanic wilderness. It's home to the Valley of Geysers and the far less tourist-friendly Valley of Death. It's a 1.2-mile-long patch of land at the base of a volcano that suffocates animals. The volcano leaks a steady cocktail of hydrogen sulfide, Animals wander in, take one sniff, and instantly regret all their life choices. Rangers find foxes, bears, even eagles, all looking like they drank the night-night juice. It's the easiest taxidermy project ever. From a valley that tucks animals in forever to an island that blasts anything that gets too close. Number 33. Barren Island by name, barren by nature. This is the only active volcano in the entire Andaman and Nicobar Island chain. It's remote, it's violent, and it's been throwing temper tantrums nonstop since 1991, spewing ash, lava, and pyroclastic flows like it's allergic to calm. Trying to land a boat here isn't brave, it's volunteering for your own memorial service. The water around the island is toxic. The island itself is just a cone of smoldering rock that's permanently annoyed at anyone who gets within shouting distance. From a volcano you can't land on to rivers you definitely shouldn't fall into. Number 32. The Amazon Meeting of Waters in Brazil. Near Manaus, two of the world's biggest rivers, the Rio Negro and the Solimões, meet to form the Amazon. But they don't mix. Oh no, that'd be too easy. For miles, the black, tea-like water of the Negro flows side by side with the sandy brown water of the Solimões. Great for Instagram, not so much for your health. The two rivers have different temperatures, speeds, and densities, creating massive, swirling undercurrents that can pull a boat under. The surrounding ecosystem adds its own flavor. Think piranhas, anacondas, and candiru, the tiny parasitic vampire fish that, well, let's just say it makes sure you never swim here. It's a nature documentary directed by your worst fears. From water that wants to pull you under to bacteria that prefers to take you apart. Number 31. Vibrio vulnificus. This isn't one place. It's a monster that's waiting in almost every warm coastal body of water on Earth, especially the Indian Ocean and the Gulf of America, formerly the Gulf of Mexico. Vibrio vulnificus is a flesh-eating bacteria. Okay, it doesn't eat flesh, it appreciates it. It only needs the tiniest opening, a paper cut you forgot you had. Then, within hours, you go from feeling off to blisters, blackened skin, and tissue dying like it's clocking out early. That's necrotizing fasciitis, the bacterial equivalent of a demolition crew. So every time you swim with a scratch, you're spinning a microbial roulette wheel. My advice? Just go to Vegas instead. We've seen a town that poisons its own air, an island where sharks and jellyfish run a tag team, and a delta where hippos sprint like angry tanks. And trust me, this danger tour is just clocking in for its shift. Number 30. Mount Sinabung, Indonesia. You know Vesuvius, the volcano that turned Pompeii into a museum? Mount Sinabung is Vesuvius on steroids, protein powder, and a bad attitude. After 400 years of silence, it woke up in 2010. And let's just say it did not wake up in a good mood. Since then, it's been erupting non-stop. Not cute little volcano burps, I'm talking about massive 5-mile why-are-you-living-here eruptions. It regularly unleashes pyroclastic flows, avalanches of superheated gas and rock that move at 100 miles an hour. Nearby villages have been permanently evacuated, buried under so much ash they might as well apply for archaeological status. From a volcano that melts villages to a town that freezes humans. Number 29. Welcome to Oymyakon, the pole of cold. The coldest permanently inhabited place on Earth. It's less city, more popsicle. In 1933, the temperature hit -90 degrees Fahrenheit, a number so low, physics just kinda gives up. Spit freezes before it hits the ground. Car engines have to stay running 24/7 or the steel cracks like it's had enough. Batteries die instantly. The ground is frozen solid year-round, so plumbing isn't a utility here. That's a fantasy. The real danger is the whisper of the stars, the sound of your own frozen breath tinkling to the ground. Spend a few minutes outside unprotected, and your lungs will start hemorrhaging. This isn't a town, it's a survival station. Now meet a mountain that removes the middleman and just kills climbers directly. Number 28. People are obsessed with Everest. They're amateurs. K2, the Savage Mountain, is the one that actually wants you dead. It's only 800 feet shorter, but much harder, nastier, and far less interested in letting anyone come home with a selfie. The weather is worse and the climb is more technical. The final push, the bottleneck, is a 90-degree ice couloir underneath a 300-foot tall block of unstable ice waiting to drop in and say hello. For every 4 people who reach the summit, 1 dies trying. It had never been climbed in winter until 2021. Mostly because no sane person wanted to try. K2 doesn't care about your climbing permit or your Instagram. It's a mountain that actively hates you. If K2 tries to kill you on the way up, Sichuan's Quake Lakes prefer to take you out on the way down. Number 27. In 2008, a massive 7.9 magnitude earthquake tore through China's Sichuan province, killing 87,000 people and rearranging the landscape like a toddler smashing a Lego set. But it also created a new, ticking time bomb. The quake triggered thousands of landslides, which dammed up rivers all over the region. The result? Dozens of quake lakes. Massive bodies of water held back by nothing but loose rock, mud, and debris. The most famous, Lake Tangjishan alone, stored 35 billion gallons. And if that thing ever popped, it would have taken out a city of over 1 million. And if lakes held together by mud weren't stressful enough, let's talk about one that's quietly stockpiling gas for the world's worst soda can explosion. Number 26. Lake Kivu is one of Africa's Great Lakes, and it's also a gas bomb. Deep in the lake, volcanic activity is leaking methane and carbon dioxide into the water, and it's just sitting there, trapped by water pressure. The lake is also meromictic, meaning its layers don't mix, so the gas has been quietly stockpiling for centuries. All it takes is one big earthquake or eruption to stir things up and trigger a limnic eruption. Basically, the lake uncorking itself. Kivu would fizz like a shaken soda can from hell. A massive cloud of CO2 and methane would be released and suffocate the 2 people living on its shores. Definitely something that wasn't listed in the Zillow ad. Escape the world's biggest carbonated death trap? Perfect. Your next stop is the lake that burped and killed an entire valley doing it. Number 25. Lake Nyos is Kivu's smaller, deadlier cousin. Back in August of 1986, the lake burped. A massive cloud of over 1 million tons of CO2 in one massive, invisible, odorless blast. Compared to this, your weird uncle's Thanksgiving burp is a polite whisper. The gas cloud rolled down the hills at 60 miles an hour, displacing all the oxygen. It suffocated everything in its path for 15 miles. Over 1,700 people and 3,500 livestock died in their sleep. It's the only time in history a lake pulled off a mass killing without ever breaking the surface. And if a lake that murders entire villages in their sleep wasn't enough, let's move on to a place that tries to kill you while you're awake. Number 24. The Pan American Highway runs almost 19,000 miles from Alaska to Argentina. Almost. In the middle is a 66-mile break, the Darien Gap. It's not a road, it's not a trail, it's 66 miles of the densest, sweatiest, most unforgiving jungle on the planet. The kind of place Google Maps looks at and says, hey, you're on your own. Forget the jaguars, the bullet ants, and venomous snakes. Those are warm-up acts. The real killers are the flash floods that turn calm streams into surprise death rivers in seconds. And if the environment doesn't get to you, the humans will. The Gap is a notorious smuggling corridor for drug traffickers and armed militias. This isn't a hike, it's a death wish. From a jungle that hates you to a forest that glows metaphorically and kills literally. 23. The Chernobyl disaster zone is a classic do not visit spot. But the real heart of the danger isn't the reactor, it's the Red Forest. This 4-square-mile patch of pine trees stood directly in the path of the worst radioactive fallout. The trees absorbed so much radiation, they rage-quit existence on the spot, turning a ghostly rust red. They were bulldozed and buried, but the soil itself is still one of the most contaminated places on Earth. The new danger? Wildfires. A forest fire here would re-release all that cesium-137 and other radionuclides back into the air, sending a new radioactive cloud across Europe. It's the only forest where stop, drop, and roll is the worst possible advice. Instead, it should be run. If the red forest is what happens when radiation hits trees, Mylusu is what happens when radiation hits Soviet waste management policies. Number 22. Chernobyl was an accident. Mylusu is a choice. This was a top-secret Soviet uranium mining town, and for 20 years, they processed 10,000 tons of uranium ore. The waste, they just dumped it. No safeguards, no containment, just classic Soviet confidence. Now there are 23 massive, unsecured toxic dumps perched on unstable hillsides directly above the town. And the cherry on this nuclear sundae? The entire region is prone to earthquakes and landslides. One good shake, and all that uranium slurry goes straight into the river, poisoning the water supply for the entire Fergana Valley, also known as Central Asia's breadbasket. And if a town sitting under a radioactive slip and slide wasn't enough, let's head to a city where the air itself files daily assault charges. Number 21. Delhi isn't a geological hazard. It's an atmospheric one. On a bad day, the air in Delhi is so toxic, it feels like the sky woke up and chose violence. A cocktail of vehicle exhaust, industrial fumes, and agricultural burning from neighboring states creates a heat dome of smog that is so thick the PM 2.5, the tiny lung-shredding particles, can reach 40 times the WHO's safe limit. Add in summer heat waves and ground-level ozone, and you have an environment that's less air and more respiratory assault. Living here is the equivalent of smoking 30 cigarettes a day, and I wouldn't recommend that either. My personal favorite so far, the exploding lake. What about you? Let me know in the comments below. And believe it or not, the Danger Tour hasn't even peaked yet. Number 20. The Aral Sea used to be the 4th largest lake in the world. Used to be. Then in the 1960s, Soviet planners looked at it and thought, you know what this massive body of water needs? Less water. They diverted the rivers to grow cotton in the desert. Guess how it went? The sea didn't just shrink, it straight up died. Today, it's a vast, apocalyptic toxic dust bowl called the Aralkum Desert. The newly exposed seafloor is coated in decades of pesticides and fertilizer. So every time the wind blows, it launches a toxic dust storm that gives people throat cancer and lung disease across hundreds of miles. It's like the land itself is chain smoking. This wasn't just a lake. It was a lake turned into a chemical weapons test site by accident. If the Aral Sea is what happens when humans ruin water, Greenland's pack ice is what happens when water decides to ruin humans. Number 19. The sea ice off Greenland isn't a nice, solid sheet. Nope, it's a shifting, treacherous minefield with commitment issues. It's a mosaic of pack ice and leads. Cracks of open water that can open and slam shut in minutes. One wrong step, you're in 29-degree water, which gives you about 60 seconds before your muscles clock out and decide hypothermia is the vibe. Even staying on the ice is a bad idea. It's unstable, riddled with fractures, and perfectly happy to snap off and send you drifting across the Arctic on your own personal iceberg of doom. If Greenland is a minefield, Antarctica is a booby trap. Number 18. A crevasse is a glacier's version of a trapdoor, a crack hundreds of feet deep waiting for its next victim. In Antarctica, these cracks are covered by a thin, fragile snow bridge, making them completely invisible. Sneaky, huh? One moment, you're strolling across a calm, flat, innocent-looking white plain. The next, you're dropping into a blue-black abyss. And it's not just people getting jump-scared by gravity. The huge, tracked vehicles they use at research stations aren't safe either. Several have been lost, vanishing into the ice without a trace. And AAA isn't sending a tow truck to Antarctica. Antarctica tries to delete you through a trapdoor, but Tristan da Cunha prefers the slow method. Number 17. Tristan da Cunha isn't deadly because of what's on it, it's deadly because of what's not anywhere near it. This is the most remote, inhabited island on Earth, a dot in the South Atlantic so far from anything that even Google Maps gives up. It's over 1,500 miles from the nearest human settlement. There is no airport. The only way in or out is a 6-day boat ride from South Africa, and the harbor is so small that ships can only dock about 30 days a year. Perfect if you're antisocial. Medical emergency? A heart attack? Appendicitis? Get ready to meet the Reaper. There is no medevac. There is no specialist. you're on your own. Better start binge-watching Bear Grylls. From an island where help is a week away to a place where the closest humans aren't even on Earth. Number 16. Point Nemo is the oceanic pole of inaccessibility, which is science speak for middle of nowhere. It's the single point on the globe that is farthest from land, almost 1,700 miles from the 3 nearest points of land. If you're sailing and something goes wrong out here, the closest humans to you aren't on Earth, they're on the International Space Station, 250 miles overhead. And in space, they definitely can't hear you scream. This is also the dumping ground for old satellites, so Point Nemo doubles as humanity's most remote, most depressing cosmic junkyard. From the most remote place on Earth to the most overcrowded place you can pay $100,000 to suffocate. Number 15. Mount Everest isn't an adventure. It's a high-altitude traffic jam that you pay $100,000 to die in. Everything above 26,000 feet is the death zone, where the air is so thin your body is literally shutting down with every breath. Hypoxia, frostbite, and high-altitude cerebral edema aren't risks, they're complementary. And it's crowded. On a good day, you can stand in a frozen Conga line for hours, watching your oxygen tick down like it's an iPhone battery. The most famous landmark? Green Boots, a climber who died in 1996. For years, other climbers just stepped over his frozen body, which is pretty grim. From a mountain where you freeze in line to fjords where you don't even get the luxury of standing still. Number 14. Patagonia's fjords is where the Pacific Ocean throws a tantrum. This is where the roaring 40s and the furious 50s slam straight into the southern Andes. The result? Willowaws. Fun to say, terrible to experience. These violent gusts come screaming down the mountains at over 120 miles an hour, strong enough to flip a boat before you even finish saying, "What was that?" The water is freezing, the shores are vertical rock, and help is, well, it's not coming. Let's just leave it at that. And if Patagonia didn't scare you off the water, let's talk about a part of the Atlantic that specializes in making things not come back. Number 13. The Bermuda Triangle. A vortex to another dimension? No. Is it deadly? Yes. The Triangle is one of the most heavily trafficked shipping lanes in the world. It's the oceanic equivalent of a freeway during rush hour. It's also where the Gulf Stream, a warm, fast-moving water jet, blasts through. This creates sudden, violent storms and rogue waves that feel very personal. But the real villain isn't supernatural. It's the depth. The seafloor here drops to the deepest trenches in the Atlantic. So when a ship or plane goes down, it doesn't mysteriously vanish, it's not lost. It's just 20,000 feet down. And if the ocean swallowing ships whole wasn't unsettling enough, let's head to a place where the sand does the swallowing. Number 12. Morecambe Bay looks like a peaceful beach, but it's actually a monster. It's one of the largest tidal mudflats in the world. The problem? It has massive patches of quicksand. The tide doesn't politely roll in either. It rushes you. Fun fact, it's faster than most trapped humans can wiggle out of liquefied sand. For centuries, people harvesting shellfish have been caught. They get stuck in the murder sand, and then they watch as the tide races in. In 2004, 23 Chinese immigrants were trapped and drowned. It's definitely not a beach to chill at and work on your tan. Now, let's meet a part of the Atlantic that manufactures the waves that drown everyone else. Number 11. Hurricane Alley. This is a huge stretch of the tropical Atlantic where the planet's biggest storms are born. It's not a place, it's a danger zone stamped right into the map. Sailing here in the wrong season isn't brave, it's applying for early reincarnation. A Category 5 hurricane isn't just bad weather. It's 160-mile-an-hour winds and 50-foot freak waves that can snap a container ship in half. You're not in a storm. You're inside a 300-mile-wide blender of wind and water, and there is no off switch. We've survived toxic deserts, collapsing ice fields, isolation so extreme even satellites pity you, and winds that punt boats into oblivion. And you're still in one piece. Congrats, you've officially unlocked the final boss level. Number 10. The Sahel is a 3,300-mile-long belt of land just south of the Sahara. It's a transition zone. Another way of saying everything is falling apart here. It's being crushed by two forces: climate change and extremist violence. Fun! The farmland is turning into giant kitty litter trays, driving droughts and famines that push millions to the brink. And then there's ISIS and Al-Qaeda, who treat the region like their personal turf war. It's not a danger zone because of cliffs or currents or killer animals. It's a danger zone because everything, the climate, the soil, and gun-wielding extremists, is collapsing at once. And you thought you had it bad. Now let's visit a place collapsing from earthquakes and total anarchy. Number 9. Haiti is trapped in a loop of geologic and human violence. A place where the earth and society seem to take turns seeing who goes harder. The island sits directly on a major fault line, which means catastrophic earthquakes are part of the package. The 2010 quake alone killed over 200,000 people and leveled entire neighborhoods. And as if that weren't enough, Haiti also sits in the bullseye of major Atlantic hurricanes. But natural disasters are the lesser evil. After the 2021 assassination of its president, the country has fallen into total anarchy. Armed gangs control 90% of the capital, Port-au-Prince. People being taken, massacres, and total grid collapse aren't one-offs. They're penciled in daily. From a nation shaking itself apart to a capital where the explosions do the shaking for you. Number 8. Mogadishu in Somalia is synonymous with no-go zone. Sure, the country has stabilized slightly, but the capital is still al-Shabaab's favorite playground, and they don't play nice. Bombings, market explosions, and coordinated assaults on hotels and government buildings are so routine, they might as well be on the calendar. Then there's the whole piracy thing in the Gulf of Aden. So between terrorists on land and pirates at sea, Mogadishu is less a city and more a choose-your-own-nightmare adventure. From a city on a knife edge to a country that's been nothing but knives for over a decade. Number 7. Syria isn't just a deadly place. It's a failed state. Since 2011, a brutal civil war has turned a historic nation into a rubble-strewn proxy battleground. Major cities are destroyed. Extremist groups, foreign armies, militias, and whatever's left of the government are all fighting over whatever hasn't already been blown up. Bombings, chemical attacks, and sniper fire are a part of daily life. Syria is the kind of place where the phrase worst-case scenario shows up, looks around, and says, "I'll come back later." And if Syria feels like the world's worst-case scenario, Afghanistan is the sequel that said, "Let's make it darker." Number 6. After decades of war, Afghanistan is still speedrunning threats to human life like it's trying to set a world record. The biggest dangers are man-made. The landscape is a patchwork of unexploded landmines and IEDs just waiting for someone to take the wrong step. Since the Taliban's return to power, ISIS-K has been treating the country like their personal demolition arena, launching attacks at markets, mosques, and anywhere with a pulse. And for women, the danger isn't just high, it's absolute. Their freedom, movement, education, and basic safety have all been rolled back to zero. From a country where the ground might kill you, to a territory where that's the entire geopolitical strategy. Number 5. The Western Sahara is a ghost country, a frozen conflict zone where the political situation has been stuck on the loading screen for decades. Morocco and the Polisario Front both claim it, and neither side is letting go anytime this century. The Moroccan Wall is a 1,700-mile-long defensive berm that is the longest continuous minefield on Earth. Millions of unexploded landmines line the barrier, just waiting for someone to take one confident step in the wrong direction. In most places, wanderlust gets you lost. Here, it gets you vaporized. Next stop, a nation ruled by whoever has the most ammunition that day. Number 4. The Central African Republic is home to a war most people have never heard of, which is impressive because it's been going non-stop. It's fueled by blood diamonds and ethnic hatred. The country exists in a state of perpetual civil war. Even UN peacekeepers, the people who usually show up to calm things down, get attacked, which tells you how things are going. We've seen regions where the climate is hostile, the gangs are armed, and the peacekeepers need peacekeepers. And now it's time for the top 3, where the danger cranks up a level. Number 3. North Korea is a totalitarian state where the primary risk is accidentally existing in the wrong way. For visitors, a minor slip-up, touching a poster, taking a photo, blinking too confidently, can earn you years of hard labor. It's the only tourist destination where the souvenir might be a prison sentence. For residents, the danger dial is permanently set to max. Starvation, forced labor, and public executions are all on the menu. And then there's the 3 generations of punishment rule, where your grandkids pay for your mistakes. North Korea is less of a country and more of the world's largest open-air prison with a hereditary membership plan. The next destination is a place so hostile, even bacteria said nope. Number 2. Dalol is the most alien-looking place on Earth. It's Mars with an attitude. It also happens to be the hottest inhabited place on the planet, averaging 106 degrees Fahrenheit. Toasty. The whole area is a volcanic crater bubbling with acid that's surrounded by a psychedelic fever dream of neon yellow sulfur fields, toxic chlorine gas, and boiling hot springs that look like they were designed by someone who hates humans and color harmony. It's a completely sterile, superheated, acid-soaked hellscape. Our number 1 spot doesn't bother with gases or lava. It just shoots you on sight. Number 1. North Sentinel Island is a small island in the Andamans and home to the Sentinelese, one of the last uncontacted tribes on Earth. They reject all outside contact violently. This isn't a please stay away situation, it's a come closer and find out situation. The Indian government made it illegal to go within 5 nautical miles of the island, partly to protect the tribe from modern diseases, and partly to protect visitors from being turned into human pincushions. In 2018, an American missionary named John Allen Chow decided the warning signs, the laws, and literally everyone's advice didn't apply to him. He paid fishermen to sneak him to the island, convinced he was on a mission from God. The Sentinelese met him on the beach. He tried to offer them gifts. They responded with arrows. Very clear, very immediate feedback. The fisherman later saw his body being dragged away. His remains were never recovered. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you want to see more videos like this, then please consider subscribing and turn on notifications. It really does make a difference. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time on MatPack.